Welcome back to the channel. So in the last month, I have spent over $20,000 in unexpected expenses, but still a quarter of our income went into savings. Let me tell you that everything that you've been taught about savings and spendings is keeping you from creating real wealth. Today's video, I'm going to actually be discussing some of your spending habits and effective ways that you can actually improve them so that you can create balance in your finances. Now, before we get started in this, let me just say, this is a huge rant for me. This is a big pet peeve. I can't stand it when moms tell me how much they have to be disciplined in how they spend their money. That drives me crazy because the fact is first of all, that word discipline has this negative connotation. And so when we think about having to be disciplined about money, we're thinking about how much we have to restrict our spending. We can't enjoy it. And it puts us in a mindset of where money is not fun. Money is not something that we want to mess with or to enjoy. And that is so much further from the truth. And if you want to be successful, this mindset is going to set you back. And so we don't talk about being disciplined with our money. That is not the goal here. First of all, if you have ADHD, this is going to be a highly unrealistic goal for you, right? We already know that it's hard to be consistent in things. And so when we set ourselves up with this mindset to even start, then we're going to struggle with this. Instead of saying, oh, I need to be more disciplined with my money, you instead need to say, okay, what specifically do I want to do with my money? What specifically do I want to see happen? Not being disciplined, because that's very vague and, like I said, negative connotation. Be very specific. I want to save an extra $200 every single month. Here's how I do it. Be very specific. Do not use those types of terms, especially when you're trying to figure out how to make a change. So that was my little rant. Let's dive in. Okay, so my first tip is you got to get intentional about how you spend your money. Experts are going to tell you, oh, you need to get on a budget. You got to be able to track every dime you're being spent. That is not the case, right? It's about knowing exactly who you are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and then it's making a money system that actually can work for you in that sense. So for me, tracking is kind of a rough thing to do, especially with the way that sometimes we can be spending at month to month. And so tracking every single expense is going to drive me crazy, and I'm not likely to have the motivation to actually be checking in with my finances as much as I should. So knowing that, I've created my money system so I don't have to track as much. Until the end of the video, I'm going to tell you all about tracking, what the one thing you need to know when you're actually tracking, how to do that. I have a bad relationship with tracking, and so I don't do it unless I absolutely have to. So instead, create a system that works for you. Create a way that you can still achieve the goal without having to do the action. So for me, tracking would be like a way to make sure I'm spending my money the way that I want it to. Instead of tracking every single expense, I actually create my spending plan, and then I have an app that works well for me. Now, I use Rocket Money to be able to track that for me, and it puts everything where I need to go. And so I really only focus on the categories that I'm trying to work on or trying to shift, okay? And so I don't have to do any of that. But that's what works for me. What works for you might be completely different. That will lead me right into my next one, which is to understand and get to know your relationship with money, okay? So many of us will talk about our impulsive spending as a big issue. I know this is, especially with ADHD, it's one of my things that I work on and I keep working on. And it never really goes away, right? Because what happens when we impulsively spend? It releases chemicals into our brain. It makes us feel really good. With ADHD, where we're deficient in dopamine, that's going to make a problem for us. So it's very important for us to get to know ourselves and what will work for ourselves and what we can do to counteract that. So get to know yourself so you can understand, let's say, your impulsive spending. Really get down to the details of why you impulsively spend and understand your triggers. You can make a change about it. Some of my main issues with impulsive spending was Amazon, okay? I can fix a problem. I will go on Amazon and I will look for the immediate solution right there. And I used to have bins and bins and bins of stuff that I never even used. So I had to come up with these great solutions and never implemented them. And so knowing that, I created a system where I actually have a folder on my phone where I ask, is it worth it? Is it worth it to me to go ahead and spend this money? And that reminds me, it's a visual reminder of that. So it kind of puts that roadblock in there. So you create those. Now, there's some impulsive spending that's good and there's some that's not. And so when you're dealing with that, if you understand your triggers and understand why you impulsively spend, you can create roadblocks to the ones that don't feel good, but you can be really intentional about the things that do, so that you can continue to do that. Saving and investing come first. Can't stress this enough to you guys. So what I see more often is that it's always an afterthought. If I have enough money at the end of the month, nothing bad happens throughout the month and unexpected expenses come up, I'll go ahead and throw money in savings. If you are interested in creating wealth, if you're interested in creating a future for yourself and your family, then savings and investing cannot be an afterthought. It has to come first, because the problem is if it is an afterthought, it won't happen as often as it should be happening for you to achieve your goal. It needs to happen before you even spend anything else. So best ways to do that, you already have an employer that matches a 401k, go ahead and do that. If you have an employer that can actually split your paycheck and you can put a portion of that into savings before it even hits your account. There's so many different ways that you can do that. For me, I make sure that I put money in my investments accounts. We do the 401k. And then I also have savings goals each month, because I have a savings system in place where I know how much money I need for my car, for my home, for gifts, for clothing, for everything for the whole year. I divide it by 12, and then it's in my spending plan. So I'm saving all year long for those types of things. That's a little free tip there that wasn't planned for this. But that's a great tip as well, to be able to actually create a savings system. I'll link a video below that actually to more detail about the savings system. Savings investments have to come first. The weird thing about our brain is when we do this, when we go ahead and we have, $200-300, it's small. But when we do that and we take that money and we do it because we're already creating that in our money system, creating that intentionality. We're creating our spending plan every month. We can now prioritize, okay, how important is other things? That's going to be a great way for you to do that. Remember, it cannot be an afterthought. My next tip here, this one, it's a struggle for most of us with ADHD, because it involves us having to know what the outcome would look like. And if you have ADHD, then you know that whenever you're trying to plan something, if you can't actually visually see what that looks like, it's a struggle to even get started. So my next tip is set an actual visual debt plan to do so, okay? This is something that you can actually gamify, which is really good, because whenever we gamify saving, investing, paying off debt, whenever you can add a way to gamify your finances, you're going to feel good about it. It's going to make it a little bit of a competition with yourself. You're going to be more motivated. You're going to be more excited. You're going to show up differently. So definitely always gamify it if you can. If we're going to create a debt plan, we need to see it visually on paper, because if we can't see what that goal is, what that looks like when it's paid off, when we pay off the debt, or how to even get started, then we're not going to be able to. And so going beyond just, I'm going to put an extra $100 on my credit card, you have to be a little more in detail, which is tough for us with ADHD. So instead, grab a big piece of paper and draw a wavy line. I like the roadmap kind of thing, but draw a wavy line and just start thinking, okay, what are the things that have to happen for me to achieve this goal? What happens when I pay off all the debt? What does that even look like? Start there, right up at the top. What does it look like when I pay off my debt? Okay, so I have an idea of, where I don't have to make payments to the credit cards. I have extra money that I can take my family on vacation, or, I can invest more money, and maybe I need to catch up because I've been in debt and I hadn't had the extra money. Lots of different things, but figure out what it is that happens. That's going to be your motivator, because you're going to be able to say that, oh, what if I have an extra, $500 in my pocket every month? I have a client that actually, when she came to me, a significant, I'm talking like 30-40% of her spending plan was just in debt payment, and that can really weigh you down. And now after working together, she's almost $25,000 paid off, because we were able to create this debt plan and really be able to learn how to balance it. The best way to be able to do that is to really start small. What are the things that need to happen in order for you to pay off debt? One of those things is you have to actually have extra money to pay off debt. Okay, so where's that money coming from? And then you can slowly break down that bigger goal into smaller pieces. But you have to be able to sit down and write all of that out and make it visual. I cannot stress that enough. When you get something that's in your head and put it on paper, it's going to feel amazing. And you're also going to get a lot more clarity than you would if you're just sitting there thinking, like, how am I going to pay off all this debt, right? Now, I know you guys have been waiting for this. I've been talking about it since the beginning. Tracking. All right, now the moment you've been waiting for. What do we do about tracking our spending? How do we do this and not want to pull our hair out? Okay, so here's my secret tip. Okay, I want you to know. First of all, no, you do not have to track every single penny that you spend. There are people and experts and gurus that will tell you that you have to in order to be successful. I don't track every single one. I'm still putting a quarter of my income into savings, and that's the income that's coming in after taxes and 401ks and everything else. I'm also still able to spend the money that I want to do. Like I said, I just took my kids and we got new toys and had dinner. And so I'm able to balance this all out. Why am I able to do that? First, track your impulsive spending. And that was one of the first things I talked about, if you remember early in the video. The impulsive spending will give you insights into how you do that. I actually have that in my 30-day money journal. There's actually a spot every single week where you can actually track your impulsive spending. So on here, you'll see there is an action. What is it that you spent on? I did my example because this is what I do. Is you purchase storage bins on Amazon. Oh my gosh, can't tell you how many storage bins I've bought. Why did I do it? I was overwhelmed with clutter and had the idea while I was watching TV. How many ideas do we have while we're watching TV, right? Purchase bins to start a new project around the house to help with organization, and then haven't started yet. It's taken up space. That's what happens. My garage is full of them now. So they just take up space. And so it's an impulsive spending. So in my 30-day money journal, which I'll put the link down below if you're interested, it's a great way for you to kind of transform your relationship with money and really learn about it. There's journaling days and all kinds of stuff. I'll put it down below. But the point of this is that you're tracking the impulsive spending and we're understanding, why are we triggered to do it? Why are we doing this? What is the point of it? So for me, I know that one of my triggers is trying to solve a problem. And Amazon is usually where I go to solve that problem. So know that. That's why you would track it. When you're tracking any type of spending, it should not be to just say, okay, did I spend the right amount of money? You should already know that. That should already be built into your money system, okay? Tracking is actually a function to help you improve. That's the only time you need to be tracking. If you want to track your impulsive spending, if you want to track unexpected expenses, I highly recommend you start tracking your unexpected expenses, because those are the ones that are usually not too unexpected, but they can give you a great insight as to what you need to improve in your spending plan by adding savings or by adding categories that maybe you're forgetting on a regular basis. So those are two great ways. Any other areas that you want to improve? If you think you're spending too much on food spending, that's going to be an area you're going to track, and you're going to watch that, and you're going to see, and you're going to do the exact same thing that we did in this thing where I did the impulsive. You're going to write down the spending, and you're going to describe it. What did you do? Why did you buy that? Get to the real triggers of this. Tracking should not just be for the sake of tracking to make sure it was spent. Tracking should be so that you can improve your spending in general. So that is the biggest tip there from here. I'm so glad you were here with me today. I want to give a quick reminder to work these things in small steps. Do not try to do everything all at once. Make everything as visual as you can, and please, please, please reward the behavior that you want to continue to have. I will put the link over here. I want you to check out this next video, which is all about how to handle impulsive spending, and you are going to love it. So check it out.